So it's been a little bit. Blackwood's out now, and we have a few things to talk about for an updated Tankplar video. I appreciate the support on the last video. You guys crushed it. That was amazing. That was a bit of a foundation. It dragged on a little bit too long. We're going to keep things a little bit more concise for the updated build video today. So circle back to that video if you haven't already. Consider dropping a like on this video and turning on bell notifications. I want to post all my Templar builds for all you guys to check out in case you want to run Templar and do all the jabs and dabs. So also consider following my Twitch channel, link in the description. Let's do some things live. Let's go. Let's get this out of the way first. I prefer tanking on Tankplar because I like Templars. They are the most non-meta class for tanking, so if you're going into this wanting to be a holy paladin, I got you, but just know that other classes are going to be more optimal for the job. With that being said, there were some changes I want to talk about. I'm kind of excited about them. So let's jump into the game with my Tankplar and talk about stats really quickly. 56 points into health, 8 points into magicka, 42k health over the 35k in my last video. The health is so important for this patch, especially for the buffs that Tankplar got with Blackwood. We'll talk about that when we get to the skill section, but just know I'm very excited about it. A little bit less magicka than my last video, now sitting at 20k, but still a decent amount, and 22.8k stam is a pretty decent pool here. We are running the Atronach for increased mag recovery, putting us at 1913 on the front bar, which is pretty good considering we have a lot of magicka skills. Resistances with sword and board on the front bar, 22k physical. Spell is 24k. If we swap to the back bar, we're doing 20k and 23k respectively. We're going to pop our rune here for resistances just to show you guys what we look like buffed up. 28k physical and 30k spell on the front bar, which is going to go up a little bit when we activate. We'll pop the rune again. We'll activate Master Sword and Board. So we are at 35k and 38k here, which is definitely overkill. We are over-resistancing, but we do need it to get to the resistance cap by using Master Sword and Board, and it does help with the heal. So somebody pointed out that it was way too much in the last video. I'm well aware, but this is the only way to get more resistances on my Tankplar that I found that works with the healing that I need. So that's what we're sitting at for max resistances. So as far as race goes, I think something you guys might have noticed already is that we're no longer running Nord. Nord was great for beginner tanks as far as the resistances were concerned, but because I'm running Master Sword and Board, and if you guys have again pointed out that we are way over the resistance cap, if you're using Master Sword and Board, you don't really need Nord. The ult regen is absolutely amazing. It's perfect, but I decided to go with something more sustain oriented this time around, and Imperial is crazy. So 6% reduced cost of all your abilities, which includes all my stam and of course all my mag abilities, which is definitely going to help with my mag sustain, but that includes blocking, sprinting, roll dodging, all of it. So the sustain on this is crazy, and I love Master Sword, but I'm going to continue using it. So as opposed to going Nord, we're going to run Imperial this time, and you get a couple of extra bonuses too, like 2k max stam and 2k max health. So this package is pretty good. You could still run Nord, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards Imperial this time around, and it's working really well. Now, as far as gear goes, we are running more meta sets for our gear setup for tanking, but we'll get into that as soon as we talk about one of the biggest changes since my last video is that armor weights now have bonuses and penalties based on what you're wearing. We're running 7 heavy because the bonuses for tanking are absolutely insane. So just the passives for having 7 heavy, 7% healing received, which is really nice. Magic and stam recovery for your heavy tax, which is cool, 28%. Juggernaut, increase your max health by 2%, up to 14% for 7. Constitution, 28% health recovery, and of course, more mag and stam when you take damage just for wearing heavy armor, which is really nice. Every 4 seconds, pretty cool. Physical and spell resistance up to 2.4k for 7 pieces. But these bonuses and penalties are where things start to get interesting. So martial attacks by 1% for each piece you're wearing, 7%. Increase the damage blocked, 7% damage blocked. Increase damage on with bash, which is neither here nor there, but that's cool to have, I guess. And reduces damage taken while immune to crowd control by 1% for each piece. So really nice to have, but because we're wearing heavy, that means there are going to be some penalties. For example, we have resistances for martial attacks. Those magical attacks are going to hit a little bit harder. Sprint, we're not going to be able to run as fast. Increases the cost of roll dodge by 3% each piece. So roll dodging is very expensive now, but with that being said, we are running Imperial to offset some of those penalties, which is nice, and increase the detection area by sneaking, which doesn't really apply to us here. So I think the bonuses for resistances, the recovery, the health, I think it's worth it to go all 7 heavy. So let's talk about the gear we're wearing for Blackwood. Again, I mentioned 7 heavy pieces. We're going to be doing 2-piece Engine Guardian still love you, Frank. Still a bit of a pain in my butt. Yonakrin 5-piece, of course. We're running Powerful Assault instead of Tormentor. And I'm still running Tormentor, but we'll talk about that in a second. Ice Staff, and of course the Master Perfected Sword and Shield. All the body pieces are going to be Sturdy Tri-Stat infused mag recovery on the jewelry, infused crusher on the back bar, infused tristat on the shield, and infused absorb magicka on the axe. Now, you guys can use absorb stam. It depends on what you like and how your sustain is. I synergize in heavy attack a lot for stamina sustain, especially with the new heavy bonuses. You get a lot of stamina back, so I want the magicka for my skills. I find this works really well. So let's talk about Engine Guardian. You have a 25% chance to summon Frank to restore any one of your stats every half second for 6 seconds. This occurs once every 10 seconds. So a 4-second downtime to summon Frank. So if I can proc Frank really quick, that's a 25% chance. And of course, now that I'm recording, I can't get him. I want stamina. He's going to give me health. So that's one of the downsides to having Frank out and about. It's a very selfish set, but still one of the best ways to sustain in this game, and sustain on a Tankplar is a bit of a pain in the neck. So I still like running Frank. I think it's great. I find when I'm running dungeons a lot and I have a pug healer, or I'm running pugs, I have to carry the group, and I'm on my own a lot, I run this to be a little bit more selfish. So I think it's great. Yonokrin is still a non-negotiable for me. Now the 5-piece bonus, minor courage to everybody anytime you taunt anything. Increases group DPS, will get you through the dungeon faster. Everybody should have this set. I think it's very important. Now, speaking of increasing group DPS to getting through runs faster, Powerful Assault is fantastic for that. I still have Tormentor. The AoE taunt is fantastic. It's a fun way to play to get all of the ads off of anybody with one button press. But increasing group DPS is kind of the theme that I'm going for here, with an exception for Engine Guardian, because I'm going to play a little bit more selfish, because a dead tank it's not helpful to anybody. So Powerful Assault. Anytime you cast an assault ability, you and up to 5 people within 10 meters gain 300 weapon damage. So more weapon damage for 5 people within 10 meters. So I'll use this as an off tank. A lot of times I'll use this in dungeons because of that 10-meter range. A lot of people are closer together, and it only applies to 5 people. So one of the biggest issues with this is that you have to cast it with an assault ability. So just bear in mind, guys, leveling up this tree was a bit of a pain in the butt, but a lot of people will run Echoing Vigor, Caltrops, or Proxy Debt. The only reason I'm running Vigor was, one, I needed to heal, but I am using Echoing Vigor now because Echoing Vigor lasts 10 seconds, and you can see the Powerful Assault buff also lasts 10 seconds. So it's just an easier way to keep track of my 2 buffs next to each other, as opposed to looking at my skill sheet or looking for an extra buff on my bar. So I find that that's a great way to manage both of those buffs. I could check when I action duration reminder. Anytime Echoing Vigor is going to run out, I know for a fact that Powerful Assault is going to run out. So that's the only reason I do that. And of course, I have a lot of healing with my Master Sword and Board, and of course, some of the healing buffs you receive for this build, which we are getting to. I'm excited about it, I swear. So that's the gear setup. I find it's working. More DPS as you get more experience. I want to get through these dungeons faster. You do the same dungeons over and over and over again. Getting through them faster is great to have. So gear alternatives. So we're still running Tormentor. I want to stress this. It's really fun. I love doing it, and it's a pug run set. I find it really fun to play, and it's amazing. AoE taunting is just fun, guys. I don't really know any other way to say it. So when I'm not using Tormentor or PA, I actually farmed out some Imperium this time around. Great pug run set. When you take damage, you grant you and your group members within 8 meters a damage shield, basically. So it's got a downtime of 6 seconds, and you can control this shield by switching to your back bar. So anytime someone needs a shield, swap to your back bar really, really quickly. Everybody will get a shield. I find it's really, really fun to play. As far as other alternatives for us, when I'm off tanking, I find Gallonway is a really fun set. After you block the 5-piece bonus, you grant Empower to everybody in your group for 3 seconds, increasing their light attack and heavy attack damage. So more of an off-tank trial set for me that I use, but I find it's really good as long as you're in a trial where everybody's light weaving. I don't use it in dungeons as much because light weaving is a little bit more less common, I should say, in pugs, and I'd rather run some of these other sets too. If we're going to increase group DPS, the meta for that is going to be in Karates here. You and up to 11 group members reduce their flame damage, but also increases the flame damage that they put out too. So mag DPS is going to be meta, increases all the flame damage that they do there. If you don't have any mag DPS, Tremor Scale is going to be the alternative to that. So finding ways of increasing group DPS is basically going to be the way I'd like to run in the future. As you become more optimized, more meta, these are probably the 2 that I would throw on outside of Engine Guardian for sustain. So we can finally talk about the buffs to Templar tanks that make Tankplar just a little bit more viable and a lot more fun, in my opinion. So we could talk about the bread and butter sword and board skills right out the gate. So Pierce Armor, Puncture Morph, Major and Minor Breach for the resistance debuff on enemies. And of course, the taunt is a given. Heroic Slash for the minor heroism for the ultimate regen is also a given. Radiant Ward is going to be our shielding ability. Didn't change from last patch. Magicka skill. It absorbs up to 12.7k damage that scales off your max health. So the more health we have for this patch, which we do from the 35k in the last video, this shield is huge, and it's only going to get bigger by 9% if it hits a group of enemies if you're surrounded, which is really, really sweet. Spear Wall gives us minor protection when we cast this, so making us even tankier from there. Silver Leash is going to be our standard pull ability since we don't have one. Pretty standard stuff there. I never really cast Barrier. I only have it on my bar because it gives us an extra 10% mag recovery on the front bar. Our CC ability is Time Freeze. Now, somebody mentioned that we do have a class CC, and I was mistaken. Living Dark is a class CC, and they actually buffed this. People are doing some crazy Templar things with this heal. Heals you for 2.7k, almost 2.8k every time you cast this. The reason I don't use it is because it does reduce movement speed by 60%, but it doesn't lock them in place. So not really a fan of that. I much prefer the Psijic ability because Time Freeze will reduce their movement speed and of course stun them in place, but the 5k damage shield when you brace is really nice to have. So I prefer this. Still very expensive, keep that in mind. I think that Absorb Magicka shield the Absorb Mag enchant on my front bar helps with this just a little bit, and of course being an Imperial too. So that's the front bar. So let's have some fun and talk about our back bar for a second. We're still using a Frost Staff. Elemental Blockade is going to be used to proc our Crusher enchant, immobilizing chilled enemies and giving people a projectile shield, which is nice to have. Our 9.6k Echoing Vigor heal is pretty small, but I use it for the PA buff. Feel free to swap it to the other Vigor if you want a more immediate bursty heal. But I find that we get our heals elsewhere. We'll talk about that in a second, and we're going to skip over Focus for now. Inner Rage is my flex spot for the Tormentor skill slot. I find that when I'm doing off tanking or I'm in dungeons and people are pulling stuff away from me or I need a ranged taunt, this is a more meta setup. So I find myself using this. The Radiate Synergy is a little bit more extra DPS too, and people synergize, so that's what I find myself using. Extended Ritual is the cleanse. 5 harmful effects is huge. The healing over time it's something, I guess, rather than nothing. But the Purifier Synergy will also cleanse and heal. It's a little bit expensive, so be mindful of that, but I think you should keep it on your bar. Warhorn is a given. The extra stats for 30 seconds is huge, but the 10 seconds of Major Force is keeping in line with the theme of increasing group DPS, so that is exactly why we have that on our bar. So let's talk about the healing that makes this so exciting for me. Restoring Focus received a buff, so we'll get Major Resolve when we cast it, and you'll gain some stamina recovery, which is not really all that new. But now, when you stand in the rune, you'll heal for X amount of health, right? Which scales off your max health. So that's a health-based heal over time. Last patch, we were 35k health. Now we're sitting at about 42k health. And when we're buffed up, that is going to give us a 2.7k with my health allocation heal over time. What's more is that you don't even have to stand in the rune anymore to gain the stamina recovery. So we don't have a health-based heal just yet, but we're taking baby steps to make us more endgame viable, and I'm so excited for it. So the way you're going to get your health back now is that your ritual will be down, your rune will be down, and of course you have to be standing in this rune anyway if the resistance is in the healing. You'll pop Vigor, and if that wasn't enough to gain that extra health you need, you're going to puncture once with Puncturing Remedy. You do damage with Puncture, you'll heal for 6.5k. So the heal over time plus casting Puncture 1 or 2 times will get us to the health that we need. It'll fill in the gaps, and I am so excited for it. We're getting there. We need a health-based heal over time. I'll absolutely take it. And every Tankplar should be hyped about this change. Super exciting. And in case you guys didn't believe me, we're in Vet Sunspire. Let's do a little bit of demonstration here. I'm just gonna wait until they pounce on me. We're gonna literally lower myself to as low as we can go and see how much healing we can crank out. Let's block the hits so I don't get knocked over, but that's it, man. That's fantastic. And obviously you have to be standing in your rune, but rune back down, puncture back up. We're right back up again. And the mitigation, once you start blocking, putting your shield up, nothing's getting through you, dude. It's fantastic. I'm grinning like an idiot because this is fantastic. Baby steps to becoming more endgame viable. Absolutely awesome. All right, fellas, let's wrap this up with CP 2.0. We'll start at the Warfare tree. We'll go through my slottables, and then we'll talk about some of the more important non-slottables that I have right now. But eventually, you'll get those non-slottables by leveling up and just playing the game. So a Duelist rebuff reduces your damage taken by single target attacks up to a total of 10%. We'll have damage over time attacks 10%, area of effect attacks by 10%, and then of course Bulwark, more resistances with his shield or Frost Staff equipped. Master's Curation, we have 20 points and a Bless for 2% healing done, which is really nice. More max Magicka with Eldritch Insight, more max Stamina with Tireless Discipline. If we come into here, we're going to get some resistances with Hardy, damage reduction with Martial, and magical attacks with Elemental Aegis, 2% on each. Non-player attacks, 10% damage reduction here. And quick recovery, 2% healing taken. Really nice to have. Sliding over to the fitness tree, Balanced Vitality, more max health, more armor with Ironclad, more recovery with Rejuvenation, and Expert Evasion. One free dodge roll every 30 seconds. You'll notice when this procs, it feels really good. Pretty cool when you see it too. Reduces the cost of Break Free, reduces the cost of Roll Dodge, more max health, reduces the cost of Bash, reduces the cost of Block, and increases the amount of damage you could block as well, up to 4%, which is cool. The green tree, I wish more of these were just passives, but I'm not going to go into the non-slottables, but my slottables are Treasure Hunter, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Steed's Blessing. I find Steed's Blessing to be pretty cool. More movement speed out of combat is nice when you're running through dungeons. So, guys, that's the Tankplar build for Blackwood. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All of the Tankplars in the comment section. I'd love to see you guys show up. It was really cool to see you guys in my last video. Appreciate the support. I'll catch you guys on the next video.